Hey everyone. Yeah, it's Saturday. It's about 7. It's about 7:07 or 7:08. Check. Yeah, 7:07. I don't have to be at work till about 9:30, so still got plenty of time. I probably won't be uploading this video or the other videos until probably later tonight because of the fact that my mom's going to be using the computer to do her homework, which is okay. Maybe even tomorrow. I'm not really sure. But I want to talk about WWE NXT for a second. You see, I was just listening to something on courtesy of Epic Sports on YouTube. It was a clip, I think, from the Wrestling Soup or something like that. And they talked about, I guess, the pay structure and how things were, well, not just the pay structure, but how WWE looks at NXT as a loss. Basically, an investment, if you will. Now, I don't know much about, the terms of lost and everything. Investing, I know, investing, I know, is something where you're putting your money on something. You're investing your money, your life savings, the future of your future, or your business's future, on whatever or whoever you feel is going to pay off in the long run. But and that's how WWE looks at NXT, as an investment, as something that will pay off for them, and it has proven at times to pay off for them successfully. But from what I read from what I heard from what these guys said, it sounds like it's not just an investment for WWE's future, but they're also looking at taking it as a loss. Like, let's say NXT, not saying it won't happen, because right now NXT's at a point that it can't seemingly do no wrong. Not saying it has or it will, but NXT is at a point where it seemingly cannot do no wrong, if you get my drift. So, that being said, when a company invests in something, but they also look at that investment as a potential loss, there usually is signs that WWE, or any kind of company that's invested in something but also looking at it as a loss, from what I can understand, look at that investment as the first thing to probably cut from the loss, cut from profits. In other words, it sounds like to me that the WWE is investing a lot in Triple H Paul Levesque's project of NXT, but are cautious enough that if NXT doesn't succeed to the level that it's at right now, if not go beyond that success it already has, to the point that it starts to dwindle, to the point that people start losing interest, people don't want to come to the events, It sounds to me that NXT would be the first thing, or one of the first things WWE would cut, should that occur. And to me, that's a potential. That, to me, I'm just checking something now. That's a potential. Hold on for a second, folks. Let me do something here. That's a potential that that's a potential possibility, if not a very realistic possibility. Now, we've all heard rumors and stuff that there are some people that are not totally behind the whole NXT concept. Let's not kid ourselves. NXT is a great platform for the future of the business, and a great platform for a lot of established stars, even if they're a few years in, to go back and hone their crafts and maybe come up with something different for the personality and gimmicks. So to me, that's actually pretty good. But again, there are those that are kind of still detracted about NXT, and I think some of those people, in my opinion, are the ones that are saying these things about taking NXT as a loss. In other words, NXT, should it not succeed and start to fail, we could cut it. It would be the first, if not the first thing we could cut from the payroll and be done with it. But then here would be the question: what happens to those that are a part of NXT, part of those developmental contracts? What do? Just go to Superstars and main event and compete there? Not saying they haven't had that opportunity, because they have. But again, it's like, is that mainly what this would be about? Is that mainly what would happen? That you would take people like a Tyler Breeze, a Bull Dempsey, possibly a Tommaso Ciampa, a Johnny Garingo or Garango that teamed with Ciampa this week on NXT. Does that mean you take who else? You take a Finn Balor. Maybe he'll be at the main roster, hopefully very soon. Samoa Joe is definitely a lock for the main roster. But basically, do you take all these other people? Like, let's say, who else? A Dana Brooke, a Nia Jax, a Kana, if you will. An Athena that's coming in, that's a big deal for a lot of people. Do you take these men and women that are going to use NXT to hone their crafts even more, adapt to the style of WWE, kind of mishmash their indie style of wrestling with the WWE style of wrestling to make a good combination? What are you going to do with them? You're just going to send them to Superstars and main event? And knowing that that's in front of a huge audience and everything? Knowing that they may not be ready yet? I mean, a lot of people get on Braun Strowman for the fact that he's totally green, but he's in the role that he needs to be in. Here's my thing. We know that WWE is always going to have a backup plan. But you can't just rely on something like Superstars or Main Event to be that backup plan, because you're essentially having these men and women competing occasionally, very occasionally, or rarely occasionally, on the same show as your main roster stars. On the same show as, let's say, a John Cena, a Randy Orton, a Seth Rollins, who's an NXT alumni, Dean Ambrose, NXT alumni, same with Roman Reigns. You're having them compete on that same show, and it's like, okay, you're putting pressure on them and everything. It's basically, it's not that, okay, what I'm trying to say here is it's nothing bad. It's nothing really bad that they compete in a larger audience. They did that at Brooklyn. But the point I'm trying to make is, some of these talents may not be ready for that. That's why they have some matches on NXT that obviously you could tell get edited, because there are some botches and stuff. I mean seriously, Eva Marie, who's the most talked about and controversially, one of the most controversially talked about divas right now. Here you have a girl that's basically training to be a legit women's wrestler by Brian Kendrick and other people, and yet she still has a lot to learn. There are several instances on television, NXT television, which I was surprised they kept in without editing. Well, I guess they did edit it, I don't know, but they kept in. Basically, there are situations where she has botched big time. I mean, the pinfall a couple weeks ago, she was supposed to kick out of that, but the referee had to hold up like, hey, what are you doing? You're supposed to kick out. And I'm not saying the main roster isn't guilty of this either. I mean, you had a situation several weeks ago with Naomi and, what was it, Becky Lynch or Naomi and Charlotte. People bash on the Bellas, but this is not about divas, okay? What I'm trying to get at, what I'm trying to get back to the point of here is, if WWE and whoever came up with this concept of looking at NXT as a loss decides to cut NXT should anything financially go wrong, whether it's NXT's fault or not, where do these NXT talents go? You can't just get them ready for prime time. You see, and that's where I always believe there are still some detractors of NXT. I mean, why would anybody look at something like NXT that's been a huge phenomenon for them right now? It's basically taken the world by storm. Freaking sold out the Barclays Center, or Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. Sounds like they're going to be selling out a lot of the major arenas in the United Kingdom. Has had an impact as far as Japan, where you have the Japan audience chanting NXT. You know, why would you consider that crown jewel right now, that diamond in your rough, if you will, take a quote from Aladdin? Why would you consider that a loss, a potential loss, something that you could cut should anything go wrong? I tell you why. It's because it's people out there that don't give a damn about NXT. There are people in those higher offices of WWE in Stamford, Connecticut, that look down at NXT as it's basically just there. Like, oh, we could cut it at any time. And they could, but I don't think they will. The point is, like a lot of fans, don't look at NXT as a loss. I look at it as an investment that's going to go on for years and years and years. Because one, it allows the men and women there, whether they're coming down from the main roster to re-establish themselves, rehone their skills, the skills, if you will. Whether they're coming down to re-establish themselves, rehone their skills, or they're being brought in from the indies to get a chance to shine on the big stage. I don't see NXT as being a loss. I look at it as being an investment that's going to go on for years and years and years, and it's going to keep growing and growing and growing. You think someone like Tommaso Ciampa, who in just the past few weeks, if not a few months, has gone from Ring of Honor to TNA representing GFW to GFW Performance to basically now being in NXT. And look at Johnny Garringo, same thing. He was I think he had a TNA tryout or something like that. He's done Ring of Honor. He probably has done a few GFW shows. He's mostly known for his Evolve Dragon Gate USA stints, and now he's in WWE, or at least getting a shot in WWE. Why? Because WWE sees something in him. Tommaso Ciampa, he has a history with WWE. Yeah, he didn't last the first time he was there, mainly because he was a little too green, I think. Maybe he didn't get the concept. Now he has. He's had time to go on the indies, go to Ring of Honor, wherever, and learn, okay, this is how things are done. Maybe this is why I was let go. So, to me, that's what I look at. That's what I look at with NXT, with guys like him going into NXT. When I look at someone like Nia Jax, yeah, she's a cousin of The Rock. Don't get me wrong about that. But the thing is, when you've gone through so many different situations with her, and now you've come up with the idea, let's just make her a powerhouse. Let's just make her Tamina 2.0, but a better version of Tamina. Let's make her into a powerhouse that when she gets brought up and Tamina's still there, let's have her and Tamina be a team. Because you don't tell me they're not going to do that. They are. They're going to do that. They're going to bring Nia Jax up to the main roster down the line. They're going to team her up with Tamina. They're going to make her either part of Team Bad, or they're going to separate her and Tamina, and they're going to go off and do their own thing. But, again, you look at, people like Nia Jax and what NXT can do for her, and what they're trying to do for this Beth Phoenix 2.0, Dana Brooke. It's more along the lines that this is a good investment. I mean, look at Emma. Emma was doing this for a while, even up on the main roster. That didn't last long. That didn't last long, and yet what she did outside of the ring didn't help. But still, she goes back to NXT, she rediscovers herself, and basically realizes, you know what, I can't do this anymore. That's not me. I've got to be the real me, or I've got to be an Emma that is going to do whatever it takes. I've got to be one of the, character-wise, one of the mean girls, the nasty girls. And that's what she became. And she's flourishing in that role. I mean, look at this. They're building her up to where she's saying there's no Divas Revolution without me. There wouldn't be a revolution without me. So if that doesn't tell you she's going to be brought up to the main roster again, be brought back up to the main roster again, to be part of this revolution, maybe have a major storyline. I don't know what does. And that's what NXT does for people, for these men and women. So I don't look at it as a potential loss. I look at it as an investment, as a win. That's how I look at it. So my thoughts, I don't look at NXT as a loss. I look at it as a win. But whoever came up with that, you know, they better rethink the strategy in WWE. Because I don't think Triple H, Paul Levesque looks at it as a lost season. So let me know what you guys think, though. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the fact that some people in WWE are considering NXT a loss? Let me know down the line what you think, and I'll talk to y'all later.